So a few weeks ago, Shayna and I had a friend over, my mom was coming over, the kids were there. It had been quite a weekend, and we decided to order some food to be delivered. I got my usual, and I also ordered something that I hadn't had before based on one of the reviews I read. And when the order showed up, some things were missing. It happens, right? So I called them, and I asked for a refund or for the missing items, as one wanted to do. The woman on the phone said, "I'm sorry, sir, we cannot do that. You'll need to call the delivery person." I was taken aback. She then went to ask the manager after I pushed a little bit. She said, "We'll make it again, but you're gonna need to come pick it up." Okay, fair enough. So I asked my mom, Rabbi Mimi, if she would go get it. She said yes. Jacob's giving a thumbs up. And then the phone rings again, and it was the restaurant. And she said, "Now you're also going to need to pay for that order. I'm sorry, sir." I called my mom. I said, "Please turn around and come back home." We'd ordered $120 worth of food, and they didn't want to make it right over a $7 item. I was hungry, angry, and disappointed. I pulled out my phone, I opened up the Yelp app, and I was about to start typing a review. And I thought, do bad reviews online violate any Jewish laws? Is a 1-star review even kosher? What do you think? I heard some yeses, I heard some nos. Very Jewish in your response, I like it. Online reviews have become a standard way for us to share our experiences and to express opinions. Think for a moment. How many products, businesses, vehicles of entertainment, and so on have you read a review of? My friends, the days of Siskel and Ebert are over. We have access to way more than 2 opinions. We get a multitude just with the click of a button. So before we can answer that question of whether it's kosher or not, I want to examine some of what Jewish tradition and Jewish law has to say. What does Jewish tradition, to start with, have to say about insincere speech or lies? Very clear. Exodus 23, you must not carry false rumors. Leviticus 19, do not be a talebearer with members of your people. Psalm 34, who is eager for life? Who desires years of good fortune? If so, guard your tongue from evil and your lips from lies. Just in case that wasn't clear, the Talmud also says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sonan hamidaber echad bepeh ve'echad balev. The Holy One, blessed is God, hates the person who says one thing with their mouth and another in their heart. Lying is forbidden. So clearly, a fake online review, not permitted. But as I thought about this, unfortunately in our world, some businesses use positive fake reviews to promote themselves. Jacob's Car Wash. First review, 5 stars. These guys took great care of me. Great service. Highly recommend them. Jacob S., owner of Jacob's Car Wash. Definitely not kosher. What about making up a fake negative review in hopes to profit? Like making someone else's business look bad to benefit your own. Or maybe if I kvetch enough over and over again, they'll give me something free so that I'll stop. Also, not kosher. But what if it's not a lie? What if the review is true, but negative? You may have heard of the concept of lashon hara. A concept that you may know, but it has a lot of nuance that is often forgotten. Lashon hara literally means the evil tongue. Malicious speech. But it actually only refers to speech that is true and can cause damage. Jewish law considers Lashon Hara to be a very significant sin. It's right up there with, are you ready for this? Murder, sexual immorality, and idolatry. Because it causes social unrest. And that's difficult to atone for. In fact, both the one who says it and the one who hears it are considered liable. There's three basic types of speech that fall around this category, according to the rabbis. There's rechilut, which is gossip. It's not always negative. Maimonides defines it simply as what someone else said or did. You know, telling about someone else's engagement story or something harmless like, Rabbi Glickman, he loves to make cookies. I don't know if he does. He does not. Oh, that's going to ruin this whole part. Pretend for a minute that Rabbi Glickman loves to make cookies. There's also motzi shem ra, which is slander or defamation, like giving someone a bad name through a malicious lie. Like, Rabbi Glickman makes terrible cookies. Or the same in reverse. Rabbi Glickman made all the cookies at the Oneg. In fact, he only eats cookies. He's on an all-cookie diet. And then there's Lashon Hara in its purest form. Speaking a truth that could hurt someone. Any statement that if spread from one person to another would damage somebody's body, property, or spirit, might annoy them or frighten them. Rabbi Glickman would never put poison in the cookies at the Oneg, right? So now I know he doesn't bake cookies at all. I've never tasted anything he's baked, as far as I know. But what if it was all true? The Chofetz Chaim, the leading authority on the laws of Lashon Hara, about 150 years ago, long before online reviews, he taught that we have an ethical measure that we must weigh everything that we do and say when it comes to questionable speech. He says, 1, it must be said for the benefit. You can say it if it's going to protect someone from getting harmed. 2, it must be true and not secondhand information. 3, it must be relevant and objective without exaggeration. And when it comes to business, one should confront an offending vendor first, if things are left unresolved. We should see that if the benefit outweighs the loss, meaning only if the potential damages that you are averting by your review are greater than the potential damage to the offending vendor, can you say it? For example, let's say Rabbi Glickman was going to open a cookie store. And I told everyone there that there might be poison in those cookies too. That could scare off all his potential customers who would otherwise enjoy a nice cookie, and that would cause unwarranted loss for him. And lastly, says the Chofetz Chaim, check your motivation. Ask yourself, why would you be leaving this review? Is it to help others avoid the same pitfall? To try to get the business to do better? Or are you simply spiteful and angry and holding a grudge? The culture of online reviews in our world has become the modern norm. But just because it's the norm, does that override our ethical responsibilities? Just because a company or product is easily embarrassed, are we allowed to embarrass them? Some of you recently studied with me from a book called Orchot HaTzadikim, the ways of the righteous. We studied a whole chapter about worry. One of the chapters I studied last summer on my sabbatical was about shame. I'd like to read a quote to you from what we studied. One must take great care not to put anyone to shame. One who whitens their friend's face and puts him to shame in public has no share in the world to come. The whitening of the face is the dust of murder, the red blood leaving and the white pale of face following. The pain of that is humiliation, and it is more bitter than death. For which reason they said one should rather fling himself into a fiery furnace than humiliate another in public. So how then should one reprove another? To start in private and gently. But to start, if he rebukes him in public and humiliates him, he has sinned. So to avoid sin, one must take great care not to do anything which may cause shame to anyone in the world. I was trying to think about how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. Can you imagine if every time a company got a bad review, they sent a letter to the person that put it up? You're going to have no place in the world to come. I'm glad our world doesn't exactly work that way. But the weight of that statement, if we want to live a righteous life, it's powerful. A generation ago, there was no internet. If you had bad service in a restaurant or your hotel room was gross, you told your friends, and a few of them would probably choose not to go there. The impact, mostly insignificant in all reality. And the same in reverse. You went shopping at a certain clothing boutique and you loved it. You told some friends they shopped there. It adds up. But one review, even positive, relatively insignificant. But now, Google, Yelp, TripAdvisor, you name it. Someone has an opinion, and it's very public. The internet allows us a tool to broadcast our pleasure or displeasure to thousands of people instantly. We should not underestimate the effects of an online review. And feedback is important for growth and improvement, and the ethics of how that feedback is given matters as well. I was just in Chicago at a convention, and I took an Uber from the hotel back to the airport. And I was thinking about this. Uber is unique in this context. If you've ever taken an Uber, you know that the driver has a rating, and so do you. The passengers also get rated by their drivers. When you get an Uber account, you've basically said, I'm in. This is the system. I'm going to get reviewed. They're going to get reviewed. We're going to review each other. And it's okay. 100% knowing what you're getting into, which seems fair. There's an approved and known system of feedback. I mentioned this to the driver, Bart. We talked about it. And he told me, and I loved this, the most useful feedback he gets is when someone gives him 4 out of 5 stars. Because there's usually an explanation of why it wasn't 5. When someone leaves me 1 star, which has happened, I ignore it. He says it's about them, not about me. But he listens carefully to the 4 stars. Sadly, I don't think this is the case in most online spaces. How often do we see a 1 star for something that probably wasn't that bad? We also chatted about how businesses today spend money on software and consulting companies on how to improve their online ratings, how to make those bad reviews go away. But those cost money, and they get passed on to the consumer, and we pay higher prices because of it. So I'm not going to ignore that we have freedom of speech, and truly we can say just about anything we want. But should I leave a bad review for the restaurant? What do you think? So from a Jewish perspective, it's clear we are responsible for what we say. And I believe that the rules and laws of Lashon Hara apply to leaving online reviews as well. Even if what we're saying is true, we could very easily damage someone's reputation or cause financial harm, even if we don't have negative intentions. We need to use our words wisely, even online. We can ask ourselves, does my digital footprint reflect my Jewish values? So what did I do? First, I was grateful to know that there is a kosher way to leave online reviews, both positive and negative. I decided to just write a letter to the manager, offering what I hope was constructive criticism. I didn't follow up. I took the Chofetz Chaim's advice and I gently sent a nice letter. And I feel better about it. I have not ordered from the restaurant since, though. I want to close with a thought. As I was preparing this sermon, 3 simple words that Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel used to say came to mind. Words create worlds. I want to invite you to tune in next week when we'll learn whether the Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, was following Jewish law with his interactions being added to a group text message with members of the Trump administration planning a military strike against the Houthis in Yemen. Shabbat Shalom. And for some announcements on behalf of the Board of Trustees, Howard Shapiro.